In today's video, we have a lot of news to cover, including a potential trade between the Montreal Canadiens and Colorado Avalanche. Plus, we have some updates on guys like Bo Horvat and Dylan Larkin, the newest contract from Dallas Stars center Roope Hintz, and of course, Matthew Barzal will have a big impact on those guys. We'll talk about potential contracts or trades. Plus, we have some updates as well from around the league, including a major medical update on Chris Letang, a big name on NHL waivers today, and a whole lot more. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news and some trade talk today. A couple quick things here before we jump into the news, though, of course. We're still coming to you from Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I've seen a lot of comments, actually, in the past day or two saying, you're on vacation, why are you making videos? Or your family must be very understanding, etc. Some sort of rhyme of that. And yes, they are. They support me 100%. But this is what I do. This is my living, my source of income. Like, if I stop talking about the news, then essentially, like, do you want to hear about these news items in a couple of weeks when I get home? I don't think you do. And this is just how I operate here. It's pretty easy for me to do. I take a little bit of time out of my day, make a video. The rest of the day I'm on vacation. So anyways, for all those leaving comments about that, telling me I shouldn't be making videos, like, just let me decide how I'm going to live. And I appreciate the support. I appreciate the the sentiment that I should be just strictly taking a vacation. But when you run the type of channel that I do, talking about news related stuff, it's kind of hard to take an extended time off. I may take the odd day here or there, but to take a couple of weeks off just doesn't fly, especially when this is my livelihood and my income on the line here. So certainly, appreciate the thoughts and the concerns, but I just wanted to address some of those comments that I've been seeing a lot. I've been kind of tired of commenting back, so just to address that right off the hop. But we do have a lot of news today. We actually had a small trade earlier today. Nothing substantial or anything I felt the need to do a dedicated video on, but we did have a trade between Vegas and Carolina. The Vegas Golden Knights have traded for a defenseman, actually, Zach Hayes, to the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, it's probably not even a name you've heard of. He was actually a minor league player. Hayes is a 6'3", 210, 215 pound left shot D. Doesn't put up a whole lot of offensive numbers. Canadian born from Western Canada. Played in Western Hockey League for his junior hockey. He's played the past couple of years over in the American Hockey League now for Henderson. And we'll go to Carolina. I think the main purpose of this deal really is to create some contract flexibility within the Vegas organization. They were at the maximum 50 pro contracts that you can have on your organizational depth chart. So they were not able to add anybody without moving somebody. Of course, the return package here is future considerations, which is essentially nothing. So Hayes will go to the Hurricanes organization, hopefully get a chance to play and to continue developing and see if he can make a chance to go to the NHL, and Vegas gets that flexibility that they're looking for. Maybe this will signal another potential move coming up here soon that Vegas is looking to make and need it to free up that to make it work. Now, we also had a pretty substantial name on waivers today, and that's Kings goalie Cal Petersen. Not one we really expected. Of course, he's under contract this year and 2 more after it for $5 million a year. Not having a good season by any means. Save percentage, I believe, is around .868. 10 appearances so far this year. Certainly Jonathan Quick still remains the starting goalie. It's back a few years back now that it was kind of labeled Petersen to be the goalie of the future. It's part of the reason why they traded Jack Campbell. They had Campbell, Quick, Petersen. They extended Petersen out, moved Campbell, and they kind of seen Petersen to be the heir apparent to Quick, and things haven't exactly materialized. Part of the reason is Jonathan Quick has continued to be a pretty decent goalie into his later years and has kind of been reluctant to give up that spot. So, which is good in a way, it pushes him, but not that Quick's been absolutely stellar this year either, but Petersen has not been good, and it doesn't mean he's going to get picked up. I would doubt that he will, to be honest, because when somebody's not playing well and they have that much term and money on their deal, it's not likely that somebody's going to want him. They also give him a modified no trade. He's got a signing bonus in there. It's going to be a tough contract to move and get out of should they really push forward on that. I don't know. We'll see what happens here with Petersen, but we'll find out 2 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow if he's claimed. I think he won't be. And then LA can assign him to the minors, they can do nothing, they can do whatever they want at that point, but doesn't mean he's absolutely going to be demoted. Sometimes they do that just to send a message, so to speak. But the odd thing is that the Kings were supposed to have practice today. Practice was changed to an off-ice workout behind closed doors, and no talk at all from the Kings to the media, even though they have a substantial contract on waivers today, which is a little bit unusual, a little bit kind of weird. I know I saw lots of media members commenting on the fact that, the Kings, in the past have been pretty transparent, but today didn't want to talk about anything. So maybe something else is in the works. I don't know what's going on, but it just seems a little odd, and we'll find out what the future of Petersen is here in the very near future. Now, another scary situation today that we got word on. Penn's defenseman Chris Letang has reportedly suffered a stroke. Now, it sounds like he doesn't really have any major, repercussions from this, because obviously, strokes can be pretty severe. There's obviously different levels. Some people don't make it out of them at all. Some can be left with a lot of damage. There's a wide range of these, right? It sounds like it would be kind of what a lot of people refer to as like a mini stroke. So sometimes you can have a mild stroke and not even really entirely know that you did. Reports are indicating that back on Monday he was having a migraine and didn't feel well. Talked to the medical people in the Penn's organization, and they sent him for tests and determined that that's what had taken place. Now, this is something that he had issues with back in 2014 as well. So he had missed 2 to 3 months of action back then because of a stroke situation that he was dealing with, and I don't really know the full extent if they really uncovered as to if there's something that's why this is happening to him. I mean, he's obviously a young man, otherwise fairly healthy. There could be other things that maybe we don't know medically, of course. They don't necessarily have to tell us all that stuff, but it just seems unusual. So certainly he's going to go through under a lot of other tests. He's going to be out for an indefinite period of time. I would suspect that, I would think it could put his career in jeopardy, but the team right now is saying that they don't see any reason why he can't resume playing. Don't know when. No, of course, that's the big question mark. They don't feel it's career threatening, and that he doesn't seem to have any long-lasting effects from this. So that's good. I mean, if he feels better now and he's obviously, feeling fairly normal, that's a very positive sign. But I still think that there's a lot of concern for him being a young man with a young family, just signing a long-term contract, which is really unfortunate for Pittsburgh too. But at the same time, his health is a top priority here, and we'll see what happens. But we'll wait for further updates on Chris Letang. The Coyote situation in Arizona took a big step forward last night. Of course, in last night's video, we talked about the fact that there was a vote going down with City Council. Gary Bettman, Bill Daley were there, all kinds of speakers on behalf of the Coyotes. I believe there were some talking that were against the project as well. It went quite late based on where, the time zone I'm in. It was quite late into the evening before a vote took place, and it was a unanimous yes. So the Tempe City Council has voted 7-0 in favor of this project. Now, that of course, that's only one hurdle. So this will now go to a public referendum taking place on May the 16th. And if that gets an approval and comes through with a yes vote, then they will be able to move forward with the project. So we'll have to wait for further details. It's going to be, like a 6-month period here before we really know. I'm sure the NHL is not entirely thrilled about the gap there between that happening last night and getting a final decision, but at the same time, at least it's positive. Everything, they seem to be happy with how things are going with the ASU Arena, Mullet Arena right now. And Bettman did throw out there as well that if everything moves forward, that they would be willing as a team to sign an agreement guaranteeing that they wouldn't relocate for a 30-year time span. That was a rumor that we had heard about back a few months ago. Now we know that indeed was true, and Bettman has put that out there that this will be one of the clauses that they're willing to take care of if things move forward. So we'll have to wait and see, but certainly big news on that new arena project in Tempe for the Coyotes organization. Now on to a few other updates here from around the league. The Toronto Maple Leafs, of course, held a very nice moment of silence for Borje Salming this evening in their game. Of course, the longtime Maple Leaf legend, number 21, they held a 21-second moment of silence to honor him. Of course, recently passed away from complications from ALS after being honored for other reasons, making it back to Toronto on the Hall of Fame weekend. Certainly, fans had a chance to see him publicly one last time. You can see how emotional things were, and then he passed not long after. And nice touch again by the Leafs organization to have a 21-second moment of silence where he wore number 21 for his career. So certainly, the honoring of Borje Salming continues in the Leafs organization there. And of course, the Leafs got back goalie Ilya Samsonov for tonight's game. So Eric Källgren is finally being able to send back to the American Hockey League. Now, another situation here that arose last night, actually, which made its rounds on social media today, which I caught wind of earlier. Bruins play-by-play announcer Jack Edwards, who's kind of known around the league. He's kind of one of those guys that's kind of known as a big homer, I guess you'd call him. Listening to him doing Bruins games, it's a quite unique, in my opinion, compared to what you hear from a lot of other broadcasts. And he actually was kind of what you would call body shaming Lightning forward Pat Maroon last night, saying that it looks like since training camp that he's had several more pizzas, and just kind of commenting about how he is, a bigger guy, not exactly, Mr. Fitness exactly, but you know what? That's Pat Maroon. He's always been that way, and I don't think personally that he would be too offended by Edwards' comments, but he did have a very good response. He responded today by posting on social media that he was making a $2,000 donation to Tampa Bay Thrives, which is a non-profit organization which helps people that are struggling with mental health issues or substance abuse issues, which, obviously body shaming or, self-conscious issues would fall into that kind of type of things that they might be dealing with, and he was going to make a donation in Jack Edwards' name. So certainly that's a good positive way to help that organization and to respond in a positive light, instead of going about things a little bit differently. So I don't know. I don't really see any reason why broadcasters need to be really going on and commenting about players' personal appearance, body type, or anything of that nature. Like, stick to calling the game is what I would like to tell them. You can obviously comment about certain aspects of players, but really, that just seems a little bit over the line in my opinion. Good response by Maroon on the Edwards comments. Now, onto the trade section of the video here today. Certainly a variety of teams out there looking at start, maybe making some moves now that we're past the quarter way of the season. The rumor mill certainly is picking up for sure. One team to watch is the Carolina Hurricanes. They're obviously a team that's very much in contention for a Stanley Cup. I think the Hurricanes are a team to be reckoned with this year. They've been a strong team for a number of years, but one thing that's not going the best for them this year is the offense from the back end. They are certainly missing Tony DeAngelo. I know they brought in Brent Burns, which I know at first glance you think the way Burns has played the last few years, even though he's getting older, that it would be a good fit. And it's not that it hasn't been, but he's not putting up the offensive numbers like you saw with DeAngelo. The offensive metrics, the puck moving, the power play is suffering a little bit. It's not exactly the team's strong suit, even though the team is overall doing well. I still think that there's an opportunity for them to get better. And one name that's jumped out here in the rumor mill that they could be looking at would make a lot of sense, to be honest, would be Coyotes defenseman Shea Gostisbehere. Gostisbehere, of course, came over to the Coyotes from Philly, basically for nothing. They paid to get rid of him, and he's rebounded quite nicely. Another bad move on the Flyers' part, in my opinion, and he's had a tremendous start to the year, especially on the power play. Him and Nick Ritchie both have been leading the way for the Coyotes in a lot of categories, especially early on in the season in that way, and I can certainly understand why he would generate a lot of interest for teams looking to add an offensive D near the end of the year. So I would not rule out the Carolina Hurricanes being in on him later into the season. I mean, we'll see where things go. But if the power play continues to struggle and we don't see a surge in that regard, a player like him makes a lot of sense for the Hurricanes. And of course, losing Vincent Trocheck as the number 2 center last year in free agency as well obviously opens up a bit of a hole. I wonder if they may look to add up front too if they're able to, but I think the back end might be a little bit bigger of a priority. Now, as I mentioned, yesterday's contract signing announcement for the Dallas Stars and Roope Hintz is certainly going to have an impact here on some players like Bo Horvat and Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin. Now, of course, Matthew Barzal recently signed a long-term deal with the Islanders, and that contract, you could say, is kind of in the mix and having an impact on these guys here as well. I don't really know that Horvat or Larkin maybe seen themselves being in this kind of marketplace back in the offseason, but things have certainly changed a little bit with some of these deals on the books now. And obviously in the case of Horvat in Vancouver, I'm not sure that you're going to want to see Vancouver signing another long-term deal at $8.5+ million. Obviously signing JT Miller in the way that contract's, very, very infancy stages of that, and it's not going well. Now, of course, doesn't mean Miller couldn't be traded, but I'm not sure that that's really possibility either, given the big commitment that they made to him financially now. The new trade that went with Miller's contract, though, doesn't kick in until July. So they technically could if they had a team willing to make a move. But, of course, this is likely going to push the Canucks to more than likely moving their captain, which has been the expected outcome now for some time. But if the Vancouver Canucks want to have any chance to sign Horvat, he's definitely going to probably want to wait at this point. He's having a phenomenal year. Why not see where it goes, see how high he can get those goal and point totals up, and really cash in on what could be his potentially last mega long-term contract, right? Makes sense on his part. And at this point, the Canucks may not have any choice, but if they really want to push to keep Horvat, to move somebody else that's making a substantial amount of cash, maybe like a Brock Besser. I'm not sure that they really want to do that, but he's got 3 goals on the season. He's got a decent amount of assists, so I wouldn't say he's played horribly or anything of that nature, but certainly not the goal-scoring winger that they want him to be. So we'll see, where things go longer term with these guys. But I think for Horvat to stay, Besser might go. But at this point, Horvat's going to have such a market for a trade at the deadline and then into UFA status. It's hard to imagine him being back in Vancouver, but we'll see where things go. And could the Montreal Canadiens and the Colorado Avalanche hook up on a deal? More speculation, of course, that the Avalanche are very, very likely to add a number 2 center before the playoffs, and they could turn to the Habs to do that. And a player who's having a pretty decent bounce-back comeback season, and that's Sean Monahan, former Calgary Flame, who Daryl Sutter recently made a comment on when asked about Monahan, if he was healthier and would have stayed in Calgary and re-signed. And he said that's a captain, Sean Monahan. So he's obviously got a lot of great opinions and things to say about Monahan, and we'll see where things go now that he's able to hopefully get past his health issues and move forward with the rest of his career. But certainly the number 2 center spot in Colorado could be an interesting landing spot for him. I know there was word Montreal might consider re-signing him if things go well, and I wouldn't completely rule that out, but given where the team is at and where they're heading, I'm not sure that it completely makes the most amount of sense. If they can get a good return for him at the deadline, I think a trade to me is more likely. Of course, we saw Montreal and Colorado hook up last year, sending Arturi Lekin into the Avalanche, which turned out to be a real nice addition for Colorado in that aspect as well. So we'll have to see where this goes, and this is not rumored, but just something I kind of have to really just wonder myself. We know Jonathan Drouin's time in Montreal is likely coming to a close, whether he gets traded or not, because his contract's soon going to be expired, and he won't be re-signed by Montreal. I think we know that for sure. Now, of course, back in junior, though, he had a heck of a chemistry and line mate Nathan MacKinnon, and I just wonder if there's any possibility that the Avalanche might consider adding him. Now, of course, adding him and Monahan would be incredibly difficult. Montreal will have to eat a lot of money. I'm not sure that he'd even be able to do that, but it's just, I wonder if they would consider that old connection at all back from their Halifax Moosehead days. But certainly McKinnon's had the much stronger career. But Drouin at that point was looked upon as being maybe being the better player. I know by some people at that point. The Avalanche certainly didn't see it that way when we got to the 2013 draft, and they certainly made the wise decision in taking Nathan MacKinnon first overall. But any chance his junior teammate rejoins him in Colorado? Something to think about. Not so sure it happens just because of the where Drouin's at in his career in the financials, but something to think about for sure. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's news down in the comments, and we'll talk about it further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis, even though I'm on vacation, and we'll catch you next time.